Well, today we're going to discuss the discussion on the cylinder of evolutionary absolute time. Last time we talked about phi and where God came from and how creation came about. And the cylinder of evolutionary absolute time sort of expands on that and allows us to understand it a little bit better. I'd like to be as informal as possible. Anybody ask any questions they'd like. In fact, the more questions, the better about this, so that everybody can sort of understand what's going on here, or you have any thought about it, make a statement if you'd like. Let's begin by reviewing phi. We have nothingness, or point A, and we have totalness, or all possibility, point B, and they come into bond in a harmonic manner at point C, which is the bond, in such a way that the greatest AB is in proportion to AC as AC is in proportion to CB. What takes place here is this bond goes into bond and out of bond an infinite number of times in a finite moment. Let's go away from the drawing here for a second and try to explain this. Let us just look to the universe for a moment and talk about the Big Bang theory. We have the scientists of today telling us that billions of years ago an explosion took place, and from that center point of that explosion expanded out the universe, and all the parts and mass of the universe is traveling away from that center point explosion. We would add to that a little bit and say that this explosion takes place an infinite number of times in a finite moment. Now, time is relative. Depends upon where you are and what speed you're traveling at, or when you were there, what kind of time is taking place. If we look at our universe from our small perspective and say an explosion took place several billions of years ago, and it is expanding out from some other consciousness's perspective, that time could be a finite moment. That explosion goes out, and then it collapses back in. It goes out, and it collapses back in. Science today has discovered black holes. This is real interesting. I remember in 1974, I was talking about these spots in the universe where the universe collapses back into these places and then expands back out. And we started giving these lectures in 1975 and 76. We could call it a black hole, where the collapse would go back in, and then the resonation would take place. Point A and point B come into bond, and on the other side of the black hole, an explosion or a new universe is born. And that universe collapses back in. This happens many places, simultaneously and at different moments in space and time. Time and space are all relative, depending upon your position of your consciousness within it. So, this leads us to what we call the cylinder of evolutionary absolute time. Here we have point A, and we have point B. And again, we'll call point B totalness, and we'll call point A nothingness. And these come into bond at a point C. And the point C on this line is sort of in the middle. It would be more appropriately designed here so it would fall in the formula phi, or the magic ratio, the additive series, the divine proportion, all meaning the same thing. And we'll call this line here the absolute. And this is the path of time of evolution, things that change. Now, as this resonation or this explosion of the universe takes place at point C, a universe is manifested, or these waves of energy come out. And to say there are an infinite number of point C's in a finite moment. There may be a point C here and a point C there, and they both explode. This one may be a moment before this moment here, and as the waves of energy from the explosions contact each other, They form what science would call today a standing wave, or an energy source that doesn't move but balances itself and creates itself in a standing vibration. Science also tells us that matter is energy, and energy can be formed into matter by reversing the process. This is the thermonuclear explosion, where we take matter and we explode it and it turns into energy. We reverse the process, we take the energy and condense it and compact it, and it turns into matter. What takes place is these two great energies form standing waves, and they form matter because of the condensation of the gigantic energy explosions. And these energies form matter like hydrogen. And the physicists would say that the basic element of the universe was hydrogen. And combinations or deviations from the hydrogen through other energy applied to it, or other wave forms applied to it, would transform it into other elements. And the hydrogen would form water and gases and space and time and matter, and we would come up with planets. And these planets would come from the Big Bang, exploding themselves out from this source of point C into what we would term within this class as an eternity. And we have the logarithmic series or the additive series here demonstrated. This would be point 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55. Out into infinity, these eternities would go, or states of time. So we call this the line of evolution. Let us talk here a little bit about how this comes about. These forms of energy, let's just say, form an atom. Science has told us today that an atom has a form of memory. With electron microscopes, they've taken photographs of atoms, and what they'll do is they'll start at an origination point, and they'll follow the path to a destination. They'll come back the exact path, back to their origination point. We could also call this a habit. Everything in nature is similar. You guys are just like the atoms. You have habits. You get up in the morning and you brush your teeth in a particular way. You turn the faucet on, you adjust the temperature of the water to where you like it. You put the same similar amount of toothpaste on your toothbrush. You stick it in your mouth, and you probably start in a particular area, or you brush your teeth in a similar manner, you rinse your mouth out or whatever. Everybody has a different habit of doing this. You have a habit in practically everything that you do within life. It's like the deer within the forest. We can go up into the mountains and we see these trails all over the mountains. They run up the side of the hill here and up the side of the hill there. And the deer have a habit of following the same path to a particular destination and following that path back to where they were. It's called a habit. And this habit is very similar to harmony. And harmony is what creation is, or what God is harmony. And harmony is phi. All music that sounds beautiful to our ears is designed on phi. The pictures of nature that we look at are designed on phi. The beautiful things that we see in nature, and some of the paintings and buildings in the past that have been designed, that look beautiful to our eye, are designed on phi. We feel a pleasant feeling when we look at these paintings or these buildings or these pictures of nature. And the reason that we do is because they're in the harmony of phi. This formula here, this additive series here. There are things that are out of that harmony that seem very unpleasant to us, or very irritating to us.